everybody, it's EK from EK Gorman Designs, and I am coming back with the first 5 fast cards featuring White Rose Craft's seriously caffeinated card making and craft kit. The first card I'm going to make is actually going to be a real quick, simple one, just with some paper piecing. Normally when I do these 5 fast cards, I try to only use what's in the kit, but today I'm cheating a little bit. I've pulled some Distress Oxides, I've pulled some Nuvo drops, and I've pulled a couple pieces of stock colored cardstock. So I've got a couple pieces of craft, I've got a couple pieces of gray, and I got a couple pieces of black. But these are all pieces of paper I've just picked up at my big box craft store and added to just kind of enhance these amazing papers from Echo Park that are in the kit. I did a diagonal cut on both the paper here and the craft paper and just put them perfectly into the corners, adding one of these stickers to the center and a few drops of this vintage Nuvo drop and Dusty Rose. I really love how easy this card was to create, but how visually impactful it is. For card 2, I'm going to play around with pieces of, I'm going to play around with the washi tape, and I really wanted this washi tape to pop, so I pulled a piece of the black cardstock from my craft stash out. This washi tape, I don't like washi tape. I will be the first one to admit it. I'm not crazy about it, but this washi tape really sticks well. And I know that's my problem with washi tape, is most of it just doesn't stick. But this is a really, really good sticky, and I love the gold accents that are on the washi tape. I took the included little mini ink kit from Kaiser Craft and edged up the black paper, and I love the fact that because it's a pigment ink, you can actually ink over black. I added a piece of the printed paper from Echo Parks and one of the coordinating stickers to the card, and then pulled out the sentiments from the Picket Finch stamp set and inked it actually in the included pigment ink. And I love the fact that you get to ink onto black cardstock with this ink because it is pigment ink. Finally, I pulled out my Nuvo Crystal drops from my personal stash in dark walnut and added just a few bits of bling to this card. But I love, love, love how that washi taper gold accents just pop off the page, making the whole card feel just a little bit more special. For card 3, I'm pulling out one of the included card frames from the kit, a couple pieces of trimmed printed paper, and one of the ephemera cardstock. It's not cardstock. It is cardstock. The ephemera is really thick, heavyweight cardstock. So I pulled one of those out. I wanted to do a little bit of stamping with the Picket Fence stamp set, and this is where you all get to learn how naturally bad of a stamper I am. But I didn't want the stamping to be perfect, so it works out that I'm doing it by hand and badly, because I wanted the card frame to look like it was actually a printed paper with a really cool kind of distressed background. I actually stamped all the corner stamps a little too well, and the imprint's almost too nice. But the middle one actually came out intentionally how I wanted it to, just kind of faded and off. I added the 2 pieces of trimmed printed paper. And I'm not going to lie, this printed paper, I went with very thin cuts because the other side of it I'm in love with. And I will use it later in another 5 fast cards. For the ephemera sheet, I pulled out some 3-dimensional tape, added a little bit to the back so I could pop up with this ephemera piece. Finally, I pulled out the bling included in the kit and added just a few of the mini flowers to the printed paper just to give it a little feel of something special. My camera ran out, so you missed where I actually stamped on the envelope, but I put that same image onto the envelope so that the whole card feels connected. For card 4, I'm pulling out the amazing, I love stencils. It's a great stencil from Picket Fence, and it's included in the kit. And I'm pulling it out to do a little stenciling. This is an A2 card frame from, and I'm stenciling straight onto the card frame. So I pulled out my Distress Oxides and got blending with them because I love how easily it is to blend Distress Oxide onto just basic cardstock. So I started with antique linen, and I'm blending up into an ombre. Usually your ombre start at the lightest at the top and darkest at the bottom. I'm kind of doing it reverse because I want the smoke to feel the heaviest. So it goes antique linen, tea dye, gathered twigs, and I finish with ground espresso, the darkest of the distress oxides. Now I'm going to go back over one more time from darkest to lightest just to make sure my blend is really, really smooth. One of the things about stencils is you don't really know what's going on underneath until you lift the stencil, but that's one of the great things about stencils. I'm a stencil obsessed girl. Love them, love what you can do with them, and love how this one turned out. I'm adding just some simple trims of coffee cups to the side, just so it feels like you're looking almost into an image with the stenciling in the middle. The card needed a little grounding, so I took some of that antique linen and added it to the top and the bottom of the card frame. And finally pulled out a sentiment from the stamp set, and with some with the ground espresso ink, just added the sentiment to the card. And I love that the stencil in this kit, you can literally just create a card out of itself because that stencil's so cool. For card 4, I'm going to do some simple paper piecing using the washi tape again and a bit of gray cardstock from my personal stash. Again, don't like washi tape, adore how well this washi tape works. And I love that it's a big fat roll, so there's plenty to play with. Sometimes washi tape rolls feel very thin and like there's not a whole lot of product on it, but not this one. I may have cut this piece of paper wrong and then added it back in, but you can't tell because I hid the seam almost perfectly. I took a piece of the ephemera from the kit and added it to some 3-dimensional tape so it would pop up a little bit, and added a couple of these baby stickers to the card just to finish it off. Super simple card, but yet not boring. Like, if it's easy to make doesn't mean it has to be boring to look at. Finally, I have a bonus card today. There was a lot of really great card frames in the kit, and I pulled out the black one. This is larger than a typical A2, and I'm going to add a piece of paper to it. The fun thing about this paper is because the paper's 6 by 6 inches, but the pattern goes all the way up until where it would attach normally in a paper packet. So if you cut it right, you can actually give it a whole 1/2 inch more. So it's a 6.5 inch cut piece of paper. I wanted to do a little watercoloring with the stamp set, and here's where you learned I am the world's worst stamper. Using a stamp platform, badly stamped it. So I pulled out an extra scratch piece of watercolor, stamped one more time, and this one luckily got stamped out right. This is, it's not the stamp's fault, it's the user's fault. The stamp is perfect and it's detailed and gorgeous. I'm just the world's worst stamper. I wanted the image to be really tight and trim, so I trimmed it up even more on the watercolor paper, and then adhered it to a piece of craft cardstock from my stash, and then trimmed that even thinner, so it's just the slightest hint of craft bordering. Now, like I said, I wanted to do a little watercoloring with this, but I did it with oxides. If you're not familiar with watercoloring with oxides, there's a risk you take doing it. There's a bit of uncertainty because when the color dries, you don't know how much oxidization is going to happen with it. And it's one of the reasons I love watercoloring with distress oxides, is because that oxidization happens. And it kind of creates a whole new look. I'm using some pine needles for the glasses to create that coffee retail chain that I'm not going to mention's look. There's a certain color out there that might be associated with coffee on the go, and I'm trying to just kind of bring that up here. And I love that with oxides you can get them really, really watered out and thin, so you really only need to color with one color. For the caps, I'm using a bit of frayed burlap because it can, while I wouldn't naturally think of that color as a neutral or as a light color, when you add a whole bunch of water to it, it just becomes this pale beige that's perfect for those cap lids. It adds some nice shadows and a touch of color without being too much color. If you're interested in seeing more of the distress watercoloring with distress oxides, I will be doing a live for White Rose Crafts on April 6th on their home Facebook page, and I'm going to only be watercoloring with distress oxides that night. So if you want to join in, feel free. That's April 6th. Will be 7 o'clock Eastern time. So about a half a month away. The final for for the carrier of the coffees, I used some walnut stain and let it be a little heavier so it looked more brown than the lids did. Finally, I added this piece of paper that I left extra super long. Love how long it left it. And added the watercoloring to the card frame. I wanted to add a sentiment from the stamp, and I tried to do it in the Kaiser Craft ink, but it just wasn't quite stamping dark enough for me here. And it's because I used such bright pops of color that I just don't think it was showing up. So I used a little bit of that pine needle distress oxide, and it came out perfect. Finally, I added a bit more bling with the included rhinestones, and there's your bonus card for today. Thank you for joining me for my 5 Fast Cards. We are a part of the Coffee Lovers blog hop today, and I want you to stay tuned because the design team is working with the cards, or with this craft kit, all week long to show off how cool it is. It is on sale today. It's been pre-ordered for a couple days, but you can officially order it today, and it's shipping out today over at White Rose Crafts. So make sure you pick yours up before it's all gone. It's limited edition, and last time we participated with the Coffee Lovers blog hop, it sold out within days. Let me know which of the 5 cards is your favorite today, and until then, happy crafting.